Now that we have a good understanding of the basic design tools in SketchUp, as well as some of the modifications and 3D tools, we can begin massing a home. Before we get into the details of drawing up doors and windows and floors and things like that, we need to first measure our location. There's a couple tips and tricks that I like to share when you're measuring. That way it makes it a little bit easier for when you're importing the information into SketchUp. So I'm just going to open up Preview. And this is a scan of the floor plan that I have for my house. I live in South Philadelphia. It's a typical row house in South Philly. The width of the house is anywhere from 12 to 16 to 20 feet wide. And then they go back about 60 feet. Typically, they're 2 to 3 stories tall. And they have your basic living room, your dining room, and then your kitchen on the first floor. And you have your staircase going up to your bedrooms and the down staircase going down to the basement. Now, just to give you a little sense of the history of this house, it was built in 1905, maybe even earlier. You come into your locked foyer, you have your fireplace and your central living room. And then this area used to be the dining room, and this back area used to be the kitchen. And what they did over years is add an addition on for the small kitchen, made this the dining room, and then really just opened up the living room. I think the ceiling heights are 11 feet, maybe 10 feet, and then they get much shorter back here. I think they're 8. So to measure this, there's really a couple ways that you can do it. I'm sort of old school, so I really like to take graph paper and just measure it out to really just kind of space plan and give up all the measurements of the space. Depending on how detailed you want to be, you can really get a lot of detailed and defined measurements. For the most part, I was just rounding everything to a quarter or a half an inch because I'm not too concerned about that level of detail. In certain areas, like the kitchen later on, those measurements we may need to redo and adjust to get an even higher or precise measurement. Specifically with the measurements of where the refrigerator and the oven and the sink and the dishwasher go, because it is such a small defined area here. I want to make sure the items or appliances that I pick actually can fit in the house, which is a common challenge in these older homes. So to begin measuring this, I really just started in a corner that I knew was the easiest, and that was this corner here. So all my measurements start from this corner. So when we're in SketchUp, we're going to start from that corner as well and just retrace our steps. So you'll notice from this measurement here, I measured the overall distance of the wall, measured the openings for the window, measured this wall here, the door opening, measured the fireplace, the mantle that comes out here, as well as the hearth that comes out another 18 inches, measured the wall. Here you have a door into a powder room, and then there's a door here into the coat closet, of which I'm not really concerned about the dimensioning inside there. I really just kind of want to get the rough cut out of the hallway here. You have the staircase around here that then opens up. There's a railing here that we'll build that goes down into the basement. In this room here, you have your dining room. You have then a thick wall, because this used to be the original exterior wall of the house. Then you have a narrow opening that goes into the kitchen here. In the kitchen, the appliances and countertops are all on these two walls. You have a window, and on this wall, because it was a lot of information going on, what I like to do is usually just draw elevations if I need the specifics. So this wall here, looking at it in elevation, the door is actually up 5 inches. So basically up from the baseboard. Then you have the finished ceiling height. Finish line there is 86.5 inches. The door height hits at 82 inches. The window, 82.5. The bottom of the window or the base of the window hits at 48 inches. And the door is 32 inches wide. So what I do then here is after I have all my measurements, and you may have to take more, this really is just to get the rough cut dimensions. And then if you need to go back further, of which we may need to for the staircase as well as for in the kitchen, you really want to get the rough dimensions down first. That way you can really build the exterior walls up of the house and then allow it to really kind of build from there. In our next session, we're going to start to use the line tool and trace some of the measurements that we wrote down here in plan. Now, you're more than welcome to copy the existing plan, but if you'd like to measure and model out your own home or your own apartment or condo, wherever you live, certainly the same principles apply. Use this as a template, as a basis to follow along, but you can, of course, use your own example because I'm sure you'll fall into the same types of challenges, especially with creating the fireplace and staircase and walls and windows that are typical in any home construction.